Constitution amendment exercise currently ongoing. There's been the zonal hearings, and yesterday was the climax for the Senate public hearings. Interestingly, the House is still going to hold its own, the national public hearing here in the FCT, so you still have to watch out for that one. But we have right now with us Honorable Abdulrazak Namdes, who is a member, Special Committee on Constitution Amendment, and also the Chairman, House Committee on the Army. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Well, interesting plethora of views, and I think for a number of people, they're looking at the National Assembly and not envying the job that they'll have to do, because people definitely have a lot of things that they think are wrong with the Constitution. For some people, the Constitution is so maybe not workable that they think we should discard it. And what this should be about is the process to get a new one. I don't know how you have been, distilling some of the, memoranda being submitted at this public hearings. What are your thoughts on some of them?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to say that for me, and I think to have a brand new constitution is a very challenging task. In the sense that, of course, there are a lot of memorandum that has been received, but you can understand that the Nigeria I know, if today you even agree to start a fresh constitution, by the time the document is ready, some other group of people will still stand up to say that this document, either this clause or this clause is not good. And therefore, even if it is the decision of the people, you still will be kicking out at it. So I think since return to democracy, there are attempts to always amend the Constitution, and at least one or two areas have already been succeeded. I think we should have faith in that, because as we are going on with our democracy, we will continue to understand that there are certain challenges, and then we can take advantage of that to amend the Constitution. And even the time we have at the moment, just 2 years, how many we have, very soon we will go to elections. If you say we should do a brand new Constitution, it means that some of the people, we will not even achieve that. I'm not too sure, because the constitution process is a very, very tough one. You can see that the Senate just concluded, the House is still ongoing, and they will do, just as you have mentioned, they will still come to Abuja, sit, collect views, and whatever happens in the Senate and the House, we have to be harmonized positions, or else it will have problems. So you can see it's a very tedious task.
I'm wondering, though, I'm sure a number of people have wondered why the public hearings weren't conducted together. Is there a special reason why the National Assembly decided that the Senate does its own and the House of Reps should also do its own?
I think it's important for us to know that we are operating a bicameral legislature where we have the Senate and the House of Representatives.
It is important, but at the end of the day, it's almost the same set of people you will see at the Senate, public hearings, that you will also see at the House.
No, but it's very important that we collect the views. Sometimes what somebody will say in the House is not the same person will say in the Senate. And it is important also that even the Senate committee and the House committee, when they sit separately, their understanding of issues, by the time you are making presentations, you will find some differences. And that's why at one point, even during bills, you see conference committees being put up so that we can be able to reconcile gray areas. So it's good to have a wide range of opinions. There's no need to say, okay, we must always conduct this thing together. It's not bad to have it together, but it's better that we get these views together, because the campaign that Nigerians are even talking about is that let's get views of the people. So there's nothing wrong.
Aren't we going to make it a little more tedious? First and foremost, the process could now become more time-consuming and more funds-consuming as well, because, it's the same. You have to rent the halls, you have to call the people, you have, all of these things consume funds.
If we were to do I think let's go back to the fact that I say mentioned that we have a bicameral legislature. If we envisage that we should have one legislature, that would have been a different thing. But we have a chairman in the House of Representatives, and we have the same chairman also in the Senate. So, and the members are different. So it is important that let's articulate our views together, get Nigerians, bring their views together, and I think it's not time consuming. The fact is that it gives you more opportunity to bring out issues and that you can be able to ask the relevant questions and you can be able to trash the things together. I think it's important that we have that.
How would you say that the views from, how are you going to determine which views will go through and which views wouldn't?
Already, as at now, we are already in the public domain. You can see that if you are putting out to task, you have been identifying some of the gray areas and identifying some of the serious areas. People are talking about devolution of powers. People are talking about some of the items should not be on the exclusive list. It should be at the concurrent list. People have identified certain serious issues. So as the public hearing continues, legal experts, commentators, analysts will identify some of these things, and we also read those comments and suggestions and views, and together when we sit and with what we also know, and don't forget that we also have experts that are helping in the constitution. It's not just about the members alone. We also hire some constitutional experts, some lawyers who can also help us. So by the time you put these things together, it becomes a very nice document that we can operate with.
No, the point I'm making is that not everybody's suggestion, not everybody's memoranda is going to make it to the point where the House will vote on it, or the Senate will vote on it, or even members of the state houses of assembly will vote on them. Not everybody's suggestion will make it through that stage. How are you going to determine which ones will be, will finally make it serious enough to get serious consideration?
Once you send your memoranda to the committee, all the memoranda will be considered. But we know
all of them.
We have to look at it, yes, because this is a constitution.
Indeed.
We have to also look at all the documents, but we have to identify which one relates to the issue at hand. And people will give us priorities, even when people say memoranda. Not all memorandums are very, very, the views indeed will be taken. Actually, we have areas that we are looking for, and when we look at the areas and what we are about to do, we take those areas and analyze them. And that's why I tell you that we also have some people that we hire that can also look at what at the Senate and ourselves, and we as members, we also look at those things and see which one is priority, which one is good, and we work on them. And as we do, some of these memoranda they submit, the people publish some of them. So it's already something that is in the public domain. It's not exclusive to only members alone.
Okay. For a number of people, at the heart of everything, I mean, one of the reasons why people are very hopeful and, let's say hanging on to this constitution amendment process is because of the current challenges that we are facing as a people. There is no gainsaying that the security situation has been dire, so to speak. The economy is in dire straits as well. And people are hoping that one of the things that will happen is that this constitution will unleash the potential that Nigerians have to be able to make their country productive and safe again. For a number of people, it will be around restructuring, what they call fiscal federalism, and also state police and all of these other things. Some people have said this on the first time that these motions have come to the floor of the National Assembly. Oftentimes, they have been rejected, they have been vetoed. How do you think that these propositions will be received this time around in the National Assembly, especially when people think that that's the only way that this country can make progress?
No, I think people should have faith in actually what we are doing at the moment. My understanding is that, particularly the Constitution as we do, there are certain things that even in the National Assembly, we will require actually the cooperation of the state houses of assembly. I can give you an example. In the 8th Assembly, for example, we voted for local government financial autonomy in the 8th Assembly. But we couldn't muster the 2/3 in the state houses of assembly. And if you don't get the 2/3, it's already dead on arrival. So there are things that we will vote on, but because the Constitution said, look, it is not only us, the state houses of assembly, and that is why anything we do, like we try to carry the state houses of assembly together and talk to the governors, so that at least some people feel threatened by certain clauses that, look, if we make local government autonomous, as it's like the governors are not very much interested in that, and they persuade members at the state level to probably always vote against it. So I think this is not just about National Assembly, it is about the state houses of assembly. So I think, but as we are operating the system, I think they themselves have seen need why we should have local government autonomy. For me, it's very important that we should have this local government functional. Because once you have this functional, most of the crimes and what have you that are always being committed in Nigeria, we all have, it comes from a local area.
At the heart of this is financial autonomy,
yes.
Not just for local government,
agree, yeah.
but even for the states. Financial independence of the states. I mean, this situation whereby states sharing from FAC every month, people say it's no longer sustainable. What is the thinking? I don't know if there is any about what should happen in the Constitution to ensure that productivity is reawakened in the states.
No, I think for now we have to make do with what we have in terms of sharing, because that's what it is indicated in the Constitution, and because there are formulas that you take. The federal government takes this, the states take this, and the local government takes this. But it is important. That's why we discourage. People discourage creation of more states, because ordinarily states are supposed to be created based on your capacity. How many states today in Nigeria are viable that they can be able to get internally generated revenue on their own and be able to stand on their own to run? We have that kind of problem. So meanwhile, we have to make use of this. But the good thing is that leaders at that level should be able to understand how to run the system. Try to generate revenue, not rely on sharing from Abuja. Because sometimes when we have crisis, even on how the internally generated revenue, even our projections, once we have those projections that are low, you feel that states gets into trouble. That's why you find even federal government at one point in time, this government had to bail out states in order to pay salaries. This is not what is expected. States should be able to be independent. You have states like Lagos, Abuja, states like Lagos and Kano, Port Harcourt, Rivers, and what have you. Sometimes because of the business activities there, they are particularly independent. So now we require more attempts to get our revenues independent, so that it's not happening at the moment. But I think we have to make do with this, and that was why even the last conference that was convoked by Jonathan, recommended a kind of abolition of local governments at that level. For us, we don't like it, but that was what they said, that they should abolish the entire local government systems, or they should create more states. That was part of the recommendation that was made. 18 states should be created. No, we can have that at this situation. So it is better that we maintain what we have at the moment and see how we can be able to move forward.
Let's leave this to my colleagues in Lagos now. I'm sure they have questions for you, gentlemen.
Well, yeah, we actually do have Mr. Ebonlu Adegborowa, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, also joining us on the program. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. But if we could just start off with certain comments. I mean, some dailies did reflect that perspective, and then there are comments from the Deputy President of the Senate and then Minority Leader in the House of Reps, both saying that they don't have powers to give Nigerians a new constitution, and that nothing there speaks about the unity of the country as it was. So there you can see some of the quotes. So what are your immediate thoughts, legally speaking, about these perspectives of theirs?
Thank you very much for having me. I think that the first thing to recognize in what is going on in Nigeria presently is that there is a desire by the people of Nigeria for a discussion, for an agreement on the way to proceed in relation to the existence of this country. There is a need for people to sit down together to formulate the platform or agree upon the means of our mutual coexistence. So to that extent, everybody, including the National Assembly, should first of all recognize that fact. And the fact that the Deputy President of the Senate is aware that there is a desire by Nigerians to have that discussion is enough for us to know where we are going. It is without any doubt that the National Assembly, as we have it presently, cannot give Nigeria a new constitution. Otherwise, that would then not be a new constitution. What we desire is a document that is indigenous to the people. What we desire It's a document that comes directly from the accredited representatives of the people, ethnic nationalities, representatives of various interest groups, not the present National Assembly, which is a product of the same constitution that we want to change. When we talk about changing the constitution, writing a new constitution, it is a totally brand new document that will emanate from the gathering of all our people, military people, journalists, students, lawyers, market women, politicians, everybody that has a stake in this country. And from what a member of the House of Representatives who is in Abuja has already said, the process of amending the constitution to satisfy the yearnings and desires of Nigeria cannot be achieved by this current National Assembly, either due to self-interest, either due to lack of capacity and the political will, or purely due to the fact that they know within themselves that even if they try such amendment, the president will not assent to it. And I don't think anybody will want to amend a system that will consume it. And that is the way I see the present National Assembly. And if you go by the view...
Yeah. I was going to ask...
If you go by the... Yes.
Okay, go ahead on that point. Go ahead, please.
I was saying that if you go by the views of the chairman of the National Assembly,
yeah,
who is the president of the Senate, he doesn't believe in restructuring in the first place. And so this exercise of purported amendment is purely to waste people's time. It's a response to the agitation of Nigerians. That's what this government does all the time. Once there is a growing agitation, it will set up a process by which the anger of the people can go down. It will set up a process by which people will just be talking for the sake of talking. And then people will go back, and then before you know it, there's another drama. And that drama will generate attention. So it's a government of dramas. When you finish this constitutional amendment drama, something else will happen next week. Before you know it, it will be 2023. And I think by now, this government should know that Nigerians have seen through that particular strategy of just trying to douse tension for the purpose of talking, and then we're not moving anywhere. Okay. So I don't think anybody is deceived that this current effort at purported amendment is what Nigerians actually are looking forward to in terms of restructuring, in terms of fiscal federalism, in terms of resource control, in terms of devolution of powers, in terms of allowing the people of Nigeria to take the destiny of this nation in our hands. Now, I don't think we are deceived any longer.
Now, that suggests that even if they go ahead with this process and it's concluded, it suggests that if the people are not happy with it, it means that a similar kind of commentary, agitation may come up, who knows when. So what is the process, assuming they were to, I mean, everyone would be on the same page, of giving Nigerians, quote, a new constitution?
That process, we have itemized it a number of times. The governors who gathered together in Asaba and came out with the Asaba Declaration made it so clear in reflecting the opinions of virtually all sectors of this country is that there's need for a sovereign national conference. There's need for a dialogue. If, for instance, the people representing us through the National Assembly are saying that there is no single bill before them for a new constitution, and so because of that reason, there's no way they can commence the process of that new constitution. It shows you that they are not representing anybody. Because, I mean, I first of all imagine that Deputy Senate President is from Delta State. And he is a constituency in Asaba where that declaration was made. And for that person to come out to say he's disowning a process of a new constitution, which shows that he's not even in tune with his own representatives, where people gather together to make declarations that will take Nigeria forward. So that shows you clearly that we're not moving. So the process we have itemized all these many years is very simple. Let there be a sovereign national conference, a gathering of the people, not through this National Assembly. I don't think anybody is deceived to think that the present National Assembly will give us the constitution. That sovereign national conference will be a conference that has no limitation. Nobody can be telling Nigerians that you cannot discuss certain aspects of your existence. and that person himself is a Nigerian, what is the special power he has by which he's tying our hands? What is the special power that he has been given by which he's tying our legs and said, I will not agree with you once you discuss matters relating to unity? Who has that unity? The Constitution says sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, and it is for the people of Nigeria that government derives its power. So if those who are in power are the one now controlling the people, that means they themselves are not operating by the Constitution. If it is true that power belongs to the people, then you hear the people. Then you do what the people want. But when we have a system whereby people do what government wants, then that is not a federation.
Okay. Well, Mr. Adegoro, one of the issues that the deputy president of the Senate made clear was that the Constitution, and you may also want to reference the section that buttresses what you're saying, does not empower the National Assembly to change the Constitution, but to alter. It doesn't give the National Assembly powers to create or write a brand new Constitution, but to alter the Constitution. Now, you're saying that the National Assembly has the power, and even if the National Assembly does not have the power, the people can come up with a new Constitution, whichever way. The question then is, and perhaps paraphrasing Chamberlain's question is, what law will we be basing, or what constitutional provision will we be basing our demand for a brand new Constitution? What part of the Nigerian Constitution or law permits us to do that?
First of all, Ayo, I think you must be clear that, reading Constitution, apart from the fact that people may have been trained in terms of interpretation, does not require so much. The word amend is a grammatical evolution. That means you alter, you change, you remove, you add, you delete. That is the meaning of amendment. So for somebody to come to national television to say that he has no power once his amendment is only amendment for a particular session, what he's saying is that there is no desire. They themselves, members of the National Assembly, are not interested in a new constitution because that new constitution may not benefit them. That new constitution may sweep them away, and they like to retain the status quo. What he's telling us directly is that we are interested in protecting our own interests. Otherwise, if it is true that he is representing the people, and the people have said clearly, whether in Asaba, whether in the north, whether in the south, whether in the middle belt, that the conditions for the existence of Nigeria presently does not exist or does not favor the nation itself, then for you to insist on that status quo means that you are benefiting from it. So I do say clearly that Section 9 did not say that you cannot give a new constitution, but that the conditions for doing it is enormous. It will require mustering a particular number in terms of endorsement, either in the Senate or in the House of Representatives or in the Houses of Assembly of the states or within the spheres of influence of those who are to amend the Constitution. So let us not, please, mislead the people. There's nothing like not having power to give a new Constitution. Once you have the power to amend, that power includes the power to remove. That power includes the power to add to it. That power includes the power to jettison what you have and then give us a new one. And I think if people are indeed serious, National Assembly should not be waiting for Nigerians to give them a bill for amendment or for creating a new constitution. They are our representatives. They are supposed to have our mandate. They have listened to what 17 governors of a particular region said. They have listened to what elders of the Middle Belt said. They have listened to what stakeholders in the North said, that the conditions for existing as a nation does not exist. They cannot claim to continue to exist, except their existence is for their own interests. So what I'm saying clearly is that the platform for giving a new constitution exists in the present constitution, but it also for us to have a totally new avenue, which is a sovereign national conference. If the president is elected by the people of Nigeria, I presume, in 2019, for the good order, peace, stability, and prosperity of this nation, and he's seeing what is going on in this nation, either in the southeast, either in the northeast, either in the northwest, either in the north central, either in the southwest, where just about 3 days ago, the entirety of Osun State was held to ransom by robbers and criminals, it means that security has broken. And the Constitution itself says the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. So if security does not exist, then that means government does not exist. That means the government we have now has no right to claim to be representing the people. That means we are approaching a state that has failed. that means even the constitution itself is no longer being practiced by those who are elected in office. So by their own action, by their own misgovernance, the people in authority themselves have admitted that they cannot continue to claim to represent the people of Nigeria. We can't say we have a government in place in this country now. When you go to the airport, you see the number of Nigerians who are trying to run away. When you go to the land borders, you see the number of Nigerians who are trying to escape from this country. And it's our nation. How do you govern a people that cannot sleep with two eyes closed? How do you govern that are in total poverty?
All right, let's head over to Abuja and get Mr. Namdas to respond to some of those issues. But Mr. Namdas, earlier you did say that there was a certain point you raised that it came across as though when you say we are looking for certain things with this amendment, so does that suggest that no matter what else comes, yes, you will consider all of those, but if it doesn't fit into what you're looking for, it may not see the light of day?
Well, that is not actually what I meant. What I meant is that if you have a committee and a memorandum is asked to be submitted, all the documents will be perused. But there are standards in which documents are always submitted and issues are raised. And we will look at matters based on the merit of it. You don't expect that all the memoranda that are submitted, that all the informations or the recommendations or whatever people are asking for will actually be considered. I think that is not true. Whatever you do, you have to shift and you have to look for quality materials and then what can help add value to Nigeria. I think that is what I meant. And to respond to what the senior advocate said is that I think when we're discussing national matters, we should not be discussing with full of emotions. We should be realistic with life. I think the way he said it as if it is legislators that have sat down to put this document of the Constitution in place. I think that is not true. All of us are historians in this country. We are living witnesses to the fact that this document was handed to us by the military, and that is why we believe that it was not a perfect document. We need to work on it. And this is not the Quran or a Bible. It has to be something that is man-made, and where we worked and found that there are lacuna, it will be worked upon. And it is important for us to know that it is not everything that ends and starts and ends with the National Assembly. I think the senior advocate of Nigeria knows that. Apart from the fact that we were required to start on certain issues from the states, we even have the executive to also assent to the recommendations, so yeah, to the bills. And once that is done, then it becomes a constitution. There is checks and balances. It's not as if the National Assembly is the one that will start and end everything. I think it is important that Nigerians should be educated, that not only the National Assembly, the Senate and the House that will put a document together. I think it is not true, and he knows that. Like there is certain things that are outside our scope, and we all have to work together to make that this document
Honorable,
work. And
just one question.
We've been having lacuna.
On that same matter, are there aspects of the Constitution, are there topics that are off the table, no-go areas that cannot be discussed in this process?
There can be no-go areas. But what we are saying is that people, if you look at what these people are talking about, they are saying that the current challenges at hand is about security. And you had even the senior advocate of Nigeria telling you there that, look, that if we don't have security, we don't even, because the Constitution talks about the security and welfare as the most important thing of government. And therefore, right now, you can't capture everything in the Constitution. You know that. And not everything will be done by an act of parliament and what have you. So what we are saying is that people are talking about the need to have devolution of powers, have local government autonomy work. People are even talking about immunity clauses to be removed. People are talking about having certain items removed on the exclusive list. These are things that people are talking about. And people are talking about state police. And these are the arguments. So you look at the challenge at hand and what you think is important. And you look at it, and that is the essence of the public hearings. You collect the views. When you collect these views, you put together and sit, and then you look at which are the popular views that Nigerians are talking about. It is not about you as a member of a committee or the National Assembly. The essence of going around is to collect views of Nigerians on issues concerning constitutional amendment. Then when you come back and you look at this, analyze the views and see which one is important. And as you do, Nigerians are always updated on the issues. These are things that are debated either on the floor of the House or are debated and are made known to Nigerians. So that is why together we work together to add value to this particular constitution.
do we have to have a bill, for instance, to have, or will this process accommodate in this alterations or amendment process if people want a clause to be included in the Constitution wherein they can either have laws that will back convening a national conference and the processes, as well as having a referendum?
I didn't get to quite well. I didn't get to well. If you can...
Does this process, can it or will it accommodate, first, if people say, well, we want it included in the Constitution, laws that will back convening a national conference, as well as having the opportunity to have referendum on certain matters in the country?
You understand that this is not the first time national discourse is being convoked in Nigeria. Although I cannot say it's a sovereign national conference, but just recently in 2014, there was a national conference in place, and there were recommendations in place. And the people have challenged the National Assembly to make use of some of the recommendations that were made by that same national conference. It was a discussion. But I can tell you that you are together with me. Look at the recommendations that took place. You find out that there are certain items that it's important. We can use it as of today. But there are things that you can't use it. So even if you have a discussion today, not all the recommendations will stand the test that tomorrow. There are things that it will value. For example, I have said it here, that the recommendations in the 2014 conference was that create 18 more states. That means 3 states in each of the zones. 3 times 6 is 18. Or scrap local government completely, so that you allow the states to create their own local government. And these are things that we can't, to my mind, personally, my personal opinion here, I can't say we should create 18 states. I can't say we should scrap local government. I rather say that we should give it a financial autonomy. But, however, there are certain recommendations that are very, very beautiful.
You know, I understand that perfectly.
So what I'm saying is that...
Yeah, I understand that perfectly, but I'm asking because there are several schools of thought that have said that, that the National Assembly will never allow laws that will support or enhance us having a national conference as well as a referendum. That's why I'm putting the question. So will this process allow it?
I think the process depends on whatever it is obtained at that zonal public hearings. And again, you should understand that in the National Assembly, you have a private member bill, or you have people even sponsoring bills. So it could be executive or private member bill that comes from the National Assembly. Now, let's listen to the views of the people. It is not an individual opinion. If one elite feels that he wants this to happen, he's eloquent, he can make presentations, that's not enough. Okay. Is it the popular position of the people? You could be very educated, you can be eloquent, you can make a presentation. But we want to know if this position of yours, is this the popular position of Nigerians? Nigeria have 200 million people, about 200 million people. So it is important that let's do the public hearing. Let's get back to the table. If this is a popular position, then we can now work from there. But for now, we shouldn't close. Let's listen. The Senate has just concluded their own. We are saying that the House will also do theirs. I think we should give us benefit of the doubt. Let's listen to what Nigerians are saying in the first place.
Okay, Mr. Adegborowa, well, is it out of place? I mean, you referenced what the Southern governor said. So, but you know, there are several other people who have suggested that rather than just wait for convening that process and going through all of that. So what about trying out this period? Either one, get a bill, a private member bill, or somehow to the National Assembly and see what happens. Or they also have members in the National Assembly. If they want laws that will back a referendum or back national conference such that you could give the National Assembly powers to uphold certain things that are agreed in the national conference if and when we do have another one.
Well, thank you, Chivalin. I think that the point that I made, which you have just also alluded to, is the fact that currently we have a template where some of our citizens claim to be representing us. And I use the word claim advisedly. You claim to be representing people. And then that means that when you are in your place of representation, you carry out the mandate or the wishes or the desires of the people that you represent. But the moment you get there, and there is a disconnect between you and those that you represent, so that you require them to come and meet you, to be able to convince you, to be able to beg you, to be able to sponsor a bill through you, a work for which you are elected to do on their behalf, and then you stand aloof, protected in Abuja, collecting salaries, and then you then say that until they can come and meet you and sponsor a bill through you, for the purpose for which they spend their lives and liberty to put you in office. And then you then know that we are running a government that is purely deceptive, with due respect. So the point I'm making is this. Section 14 of the Constitution says that sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government, through this Constitution, derives all powers and authority. Look, let's break it down. Sovereignty means that the power of the ultimate say, it resides in the people of Nigeria. I don't think any of the representatives we have in Abuja now can even go home to address their people in terms of the insecurity that is present. So the opinion is clear. There is a consensus of opinion all over this country that the purpose of existence of government currently has failed. And so help you do the purpose for which you are elected. So the point I'm making therefore is that in Section 9 of the Constitution, for which the National Assembly is hiding, there is a provision there that says that if you want to create states, if you want to amend the Constitution, if you want to do things that require fundamental alteration of the existence of this nation, all you need is to ensure that there is a referendum. There is a particular process that will go around all the states of Nigeria. In other words, Chamberlain, it is possible for the National Assembly, in the effort they are making currently, if at all they are sincere, with all due respect to them, to use this particular process to convene a national conference for the purpose of agreeing on what will be the terms of the existence of this nation. Why will a president who is interested in an election have power to appoint the chairman of the person that will organize his own election? Why, for instance, will a governor be a chief security of a state and he has no power concerning how the security of that state will be run? Why will members of the National Assembly be collecting such humongous salary in the place where there is so much poverty amongst our people, and they have been disconnected and they cannot even feel what the people are feeling? So there are two ways. The present process that is ongoing, if it is not meant to just douse tension and deceive people, just like the confirmed report, just like the APC report on national conference, which was headed by the governor of Kaduna State, and that report has been gathering dust, just like the manifesto of the APC, where in 2015 they said we will amend the Constitution to achieve devolution of powers. And 6 years down the line, we are still rounding in the same circle by the same politicians that deceived us to give them votes. So we can use that process to amend the Constitution to get the views of the people, and the views are known already. People say we want to control our destiny. Why should there be a national grid that cannot sustain electricity for the people of Nigeria, and our youth are roaming the streets? Why must you give a quota for admission into university when there are people who have graduated from secondary school, they cannot get admission for years, even in the state universities built by their own states? What kind of country is that? So we say that you can do that with this process, or the president himself working with the National Assembly based on their promises to the people of Nigeria when they were coming for canvassing for vote, initiate a bill that will decide on the convocation of the Sovereign National Conference and not give any limitation. We should discuss whether we want state police, whether we want the current state arrangement, whether we want a federation, whether there should be a clause. Some people are even saying we should go back to the 1963 Constitution. Is my honorable, with due respect, has he not listened to the views of Nigerians? Is he not representing a people? Does he not know the views of the people he's representing? Can he travel home today in his own home state without escort as he's sitting there? Can he enter a car and drive himself and go around his own constituency without an escort? If the answer is no, then can he say that he's representing anybody? Can he say that there is a government in place? Is this a country that we all clamored for, whereby everything in this country has broken down? There's no electricity, there's no education, there is no security, there's no prosperity. People are suffering, and some people are sitting in Abuja and wearing agbada and speaking grammar on television. Does he not know the anger of the people on the streets? Where some people, some weeks ago, stormed the palace of a high chief in Kwara State and almost burnt it down. Did he not see the NSAS protests? Is he not in Nigeria? And he's saying that people are speaking eloquently. Why won't you speak eloquently on behalf of the people? When you, who have been elected to represent the people, you have run away from your responsibility and you are no longer doing what the people have represented you to do. And you are begging us to come and do the duty for which you have been elected. That's why I said the National Assembly effort at amending the Constitution is a deception. It will not get us anywhere. Let Nigerians take their destiny in their hand and demand for a process that will birth a new nation. As the PANDEF, as the National Northern Elders Forum, as the Middle Belt Forum, as the Southern Governors, Middle Belt Governors, everybody's agreed that we should have a new constitution. And that is possible.
Honorable Namdas?
I don't know what your response first will be to that.
Yes, I think unfortunately, I think these are people that have made up their minds about Nigeria. You just heard him say that Nigerians, all of them are talking about, they've agreed about having a new constitution. That is not true. I agree that some Nigerians want to have a new constitution. But to say that all Nigerians have agreed to have a new constitution is really false. And you can see the emotions I've been talking about. If you bring a new constitution, let me land. If you have even a new constitution, as he's saying, I can assure you that this same person will tell you that there's one particular clause that he's interested, and that this clause has not passed, and then it is National Assembly that has not made it possible for this thing to pass because he has certain things in his mind. But I must respond still, please, that to say that people like us cannot go to our constituency is not true. He doesn't come from my constituency. In fact, I don't even know him. And I can tell you that I can go to my constituency, and I've been going to my constituency. I've been elected to the House of Representatives not only once. This is my second tenure. And for him to sit comfortably and assume that the position he holds and whatever he says is the popular position of the people is wrong. And that is how you see people always, when they get opportunity, they try to talk out people to say, look, that people, Nigeria said this, we said this. I agree that there is anger in the land. But all these things we have agreed, and that is why we are working towards addressing the issue. And whatever he likes, or any Nigerian that likes to have in this constitution, can be achieved through an amendment. Can be achieved through an amendment. So what we are saying is that, what is this that he wants? Let him agree and have confidence in the committee. Well, so what do you want? Bring it forth.
Honorable, I'm sure you can appreciate why confidence is a big issue.
Yes.
I mean, this is not the first time that the National Assembly has tried to amend the Constitution.
Yeah.
As you rightly pointed out, there have been several attempts.
Yes.
There have been national conferences convoked. There was a 2014 national conference. The APC, when it came to power, also came to power based on promises of restructuring as well. They had their own party convocations on what should be, what restructuring should be about. As he pointed out, that is, sitting in the cooler somewhere. Nothing has been said about that.
Let me explain to you.
Yes.
It is, you should understand that government does not work as if everybody has a responsibility to play. Now, and in the 8th Assembly, or in the 7th Assembly, when the Constitution was actually discussed and an effort to amend it was put in place, the lacuna was that there was one particular clause that created a problem, which made that document, the president couldn't sign the document, and that brought the problem.
Yeah.
And in the 8th Assembly,
do you know that there was
it bill by bill, close by close, so that we learn from the past mistakes.
Indeed. Yeah. But I'm even trying to say now, I do remember interviewing, I think it was the chairman of the Constitution Review Committee, of the, was it the 7th Assembly, who raised big questions as to whether or not that document was signed by the president. The amendment of the 7th Assembly. There were huge questions as to whether or not, because there were some talk.
If it was signed, it should have been made available. Well, it was actually not signed.
I don't know.
You should know that this is
I'm not the one who said it.
But I'm telling you, for the past 6 years, you should have seen it.
It would seem that he had privileged information that I'm not privy to.
The president is alive. He's not dead. The ex-president is alive. He should have said it himself.
Okay, so let's leave that aside now. But this is where we currently are. Nigeria. And all of these things oftentimes raises the hope of Nigerians that this will lead to a better country. And it would seem that, you know, as we move forward, as we progress, it's not exactly yielding the better country that Nigerians are looking forward to, are hopeful for. If that is the situation, what are the guarantees? Are there any at all that this time around there will be a lot more sincerity, a lot more political will to ensure that the thing that, the country that Nigerians desire comes to fruition?
That's what I'm saying. If a process is ongoing, have confidence in the process in the first place. But the point is that you have not even agreed, or some people have not even agreed that there's a process in place. That process ab initio is not a good process because he holds a contrary view. Okay, and it's wrong. The hope is that something is happening. If you want a particular thing to happen in Nigeria, come through this constitution. Amendment is possible. It could solve the problem. So and we cannot solve all problems in 4 years or 8 years.
What concessions is the National Assembly given to the Nigerian people this time around that, okay, if this is not possible through our own amendment process, is it possible, for instance, for them to say, we will insert into the constitution a process for a referendum? Because that is possible, it is an amendment, it is inserting something new in it, and could pass. But it was saying that so far so good. There is some aversion to it.
This is where the problem is.
Yeah.
Once you people make suggestion,
yes,
if you want referendum, it is not your personal self. Nigeria is not made of 1 or 2 people. It is not what you want or what I want that will be in the constitution. It is the views of the people. If it is the general agreement of Nigerians or the majority that should be a referendum, allow that to take place.
It's not about the question is, how do we determine majority? If we're to go by the views that have been expressed before now, and this is not anything. Yesterday we heard Mrs. Obieze Kwesili submitting a memoranda to that to the Senate public hearings.
I saw it.
Yes, you saw it. This should be a one agenda. And then when we look at the the history of the national conferences that we have had, the fact that a number of Nigerians say the real amendments that we need is not possible with the current National Assembly, not just your own assembly now, but the National Assembly as an institution, because this constitution produced the National Assembly, and that's why it would seem that we have seen national conferences being convoked. If that is the situation, isn't that enough to tell us that, maybe there's something that we should do to this constitution to enable such processes come up?
That's what I'm saying. Some of the recommendations of the conferences that has earlier conferences, some of them are already before us as I speak. Now, that I'm saying, if, for example, somebody is talking about they need to have there was a time, the part of the recommendation in the past was that, look, let's have an independent candidacy, for example. Let us also have a state police, for example. Now, whatever happens, we have to have a process. And this process is amending the constitution. And part of amending the constitution is to move around and get views of the people. Collect the views of the people. But this coalition has not been concluded. Somebody has taken position because he feels that it has not gone his own way, and therefore it must not happen in this manner. I think this is why the problem is.
As much as possible, I'm trying my best not to make this personal. I mean, to remove the,
and that's what I'm also saying. That's how we
personality,
should be.
part of this. I'm really trying to isolate it and say, what, let's take a look at the issues. The issues are deep.
Yes, I agree with you.
The issues are bordering on the lives of people.
Now, let me give an example.
Let me finish, Honorable. Yes. The issues are bordering on the future of this country. When we look at the fact that pupils have been abducted in Niger State and, they're yet to return to their parents. We even understand that some parents have died as a result of that. When we look at the fact that millions of youths are unemployed and people are saying that all of this is because of how the Constitution is structured. And some people are saying that there is no way we can move forward if we don't do anything better by this Constitution. I don't know, former President Olusegun Obasanjo was said to have said that, the country is holding its own people in shackles. These are pretty
that's why I think you should allow me to say it.
Yes.
For example, I chair committee on army in the National Assembly. And when somebody talks about the need to have a state police, I agree with him. But the point is that there's a process. For us to have a state police, we will also do our own part and the state houses of assembly will do our part. I will not do my own part here and go to the state house of assembly and do their own part. There is need for them to do so. So I agree with you that there's a huge challenge on the ground, and we will require this position. If for us to reduce the insecurity, let's allow the state police to be in place. But this is my opinion too. Yeah, I can vote on that. And the people in the state houses of assembly has the opportunity to vote on that.
How are you able to collate? I mean, at the end of the day, if you said this is about the people,
yeah.
How are you able to collate and aggregate the views of the people, which will eventually scale through?
But you are already aware that the Special Committee on the Constitutional Review has already published it in national dailies on television, asking people to submit memoranda. And that was why you were even asking that all these views put together, can we all put the views together? That was what you asked. And again, that was the reason why we've decided to go for public hearing, both at the Senate and the House level, zonal level, so that when House of Representatives is in this area, the Senate is also in this area, because Nigeria is a big country. And that was why I said, let's allow these two houses to collect the views. Once it is concluded, we will look and see, give this committee benefit of the doubt, so that what you want can also be achieved through the amendment. And there's one thing I want us to understand, please.
Honorable, in 10 seconds, if you can. Okay, well,
I wanted to say,
I'm sorry if I've cut your thoughts about
but what I was trying to point out, it's important I mention this, that you see, people are looking at it that this constitution, even if we are to do a fresh one, it will solve all problems. My dear, it is good to attempt to have the political will to be able to amend the constitution. And this government will not finish, Nigeria will not finish in 2003. It will still continue. But let's, those of us that are present, to do the right thing. And part of the right thing to do is to please talk to the people, get their views, and you believe in them first. Thank you so much.
It's a fine place to live. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Today this morning. Honorable Abdulrazak Namdez is a member, Special Committee on Constitution Amendment, and also the Chairman, House Committee on the Army. We've also been speaking with Mr. Ebun Adegborowa, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Just a little more stuff with Ebun. Just a minute. We'll be back. Well, I know they say curiosity kills the cat, but Mr. Ebun, I'm just curious. You know, well, it turns out that the Attorney General and Minister of Justice has denied that rumor that was making the rounds, that he had advised the president to suspend the constitution and declare martial law. How does that even work? Is it even possible at all? How do people come up with such rumors?
It is possible. And with all due respect to the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and my learned brother, Mr. Malami, I believe that there is something like that in the pipelines. But that story was planted to test the reaction of the people of Nigeria. And why I say it is possible is that the perspective of the current government is that security should take place or take priority above the rights of citizens. When the president came to address us at the NBA conference in 2018, he said it clearly that when it comes to national security, human rights, fundamental rights should be suspended. And it's been said by several agents and top members of the current executive that the problem the president is having is Chapter 4 of the Constitution. And that is the life of the Constitution, Chapter 4, which guarantees the right to life, guarantees the rights of liberty to privacy, guarantees the right of freedom of movement, guarantees the rights to own property, guarantees freedom of expression, guarantees freedom of assembly. So it is not just being said by the Attorney General. It's been echoed by the president himself in the past. So I believe the story, with all due respect. But I'm glad that Nigerians have reacted and pushed it back. May it never come in this nation that we'll go back to the Stone Age, where we are ruling ourselves through martial law, and there is a civilian dictator in place that will continue to suspend the rights of our people. It will never happen. And I think that's the reason why all people of Nigeria should approach the courts. Once the court resumes, we should file various cases to restrain the president from declaring martial law in Nigeria. It is not sufficient for the Attorney General to say it will not happen. Let us not take anything for granted. I know that in this particular government, that is the desire of those who are in power.
Well, at least gladly that he's denied it, so perhaps we need to give them the benefit of the doubt. But we do thank you for your time this morning, Mr. Ebonlu Adigborowa, Senior Advocate of Nigeria.